What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's spoiler-filled / ending explains of the new Netflix original movie, The Harder They Fall. This film is directed by Jeymes Samuel. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like these videos, awesome, hit that like button, as well as commenting below on a video to watch, including this one. Okay, before we begin, the review for the most part, it'll be a atypical review, but I have to talk about the ending, which kind of threw me for a loop a little bit when I was watching this movie. I have a lot of things to say about it. I don't know if it's all going to be good, but I have a lot of things to say about it, so go with me on that. And so The Harder They Fall is, of course, this revenge Western film, very atypical, very stereotype, very tropey type film, I guess you could say. It stars Jonathan Majors as Nate Love, who in his past as a child, his family was killed in cold blood by this character named Rufus Buck, who's played by Idris Elba. And when he grows up, he decides he's going to go on a vendetta revenge quest to not only take down Rufus Buck, but take down his posse and his gang and so on and so forth to get the revenge and whatnot for his family being murdered. Well, of course, in these films, you have to have your own posse, you have to have your own gang, and of course, Nate Love has had a gang, but he's had different people in it, but his main stables include people like Zazie Beetz, who plays Stagecoach Mary, he has RJ Cyler, who is one of the fastest guns in the West, and he also has this character named Pickett, who of course is a sharpshooter. But on top of everything, another character, who's played by Delroy Lindo, who plays the sheriff, comes into the mix. Well, in order to have both sides be equal, you have to have the menacing gang, like the super group of sharpshooters and westerners and stuff like that. So of course you have Trudy, who's played by Regina King. You have of course LaKeith Stanfield, who plays Cherokee Bill, and you got your pretty even matchup. It's a pretty cool thing to see as you watch this movie. But because this is an action western revenge film, or thriller, whatever you want to call it, there's going to be some crazy over-the-top violence, some crazy over-the-top action. This is a revenge quest, so on top of that, you know, everybody's like, you know, kind of going behind each other's back. And of course, the Idris Elba and the Regina King and LaKeith Stanfield are going to be kind of OP'd in a lot of ways. So therefore, you know, these other characters going up against them are never going to be, you know, 100% prepared. And so with that said, this is the second Idris Elba film to appear on Netflix. The first one was Concrete Cowboys, which I didn't care for very much. But this film has been gaining a lot of pretty interesting buzz. It's been getting a lot of positive buzz for all the characters in the movie. And so I was really interested to see this. I'm not a big Western fan, never have been. Tombstone and like the Outlaw Josie Wells are the only real like Westerns I actually truly like. But the one thing about this film that caught me kind of really interested is who is in this film. I mean, we have LaKeith Stanfield, Idris Elba, Jonathan Majors, Zazie Beetz, Delroy Lindo, and it's like a who's who of Hollywood, and I just became really excited by that. I was like, hey, bring this into the theaters or on Netflix, I'll watch it, and here I am reviewing it. And so for my overall take on this movie, my overall review, this movie is actually really good, to be fairly honest. Yes, it's very tropey and very stereotyped. You know where it's headed. You know exactly beat by beat where it's going to go. You know, some people that are, you know, well liked in this movie are going to die. You know, some people are going to live, and it's going to be a lot of surprises and a lot of stabbing in the back, stuff like that. But the one thing that this movie has, it has swagger, it has compassion, it has really cool action, and it has some really cool dimensional characters that play out in some really awesome ways. It knows what it's doing, it knows what kind of film it is, but characters like Jonathan Majors, characters like Idris Elba are amazing in this movie. They have a lot of fun moments in this movie, but they're truly outshined, believe it or not, by Regina King and LaKeith Stanfield and even Zazie Beetz to an extent, because the one thing about Regina King is she's so multidimensional as an actress that when she's on screen playing a bad guy, you really feel that menace of her as a bad guy. You do not want to step in front of her. You do not want to cross the line of her. If she tells you to do something, you're going to do it. And that is the powers of course, Regina King as an actress, that she is able to not only show that menacing side, but there's something kind of wonderful about watching an individual who can be warm and calm and collective and then just be a super badass, which is what she is in this movie. And she's going up against, you know, people like Idris Elba, who's that very menacing individual when he wants to be, and it's just a very fun character role for her character. And I'm glad to see that she's not only doing a director spot, you know, of course with One Night in Miami, but here she's playing just an awesome badass who has good gun work and good fighting and so on and so forth. It's pretty awesome, especially when she goes up, tells her story to Zazie Beetz, a very atypical story that has some really kind of dark, disturbing moments. And then, like I said, LaKeith Stanfield's character in this movie is my favorite character in the movie. He's the guy, of course, that got an Oscar nomination for Judas and the Black Messiah, has just kind of completely blown up in the Hollywood, Hollywood route and whatnot. And the reason I like his character so much is he is that character that his gaze, his demeanor, his face never changes. He's constantly looking like he's worried, or he gives you that gaze like you should be careful what you say, be careful how you say it. He's an individual that doesn't really emote at all, but you know is the scariest person in the movie. Regina King is amazing, scary. Idris Elba is scary, but this guy is you have no idea what he's going to do, but he's also a guy with some compassion. He tells some of the people in this movie, you just do what we tell you to do. You'll go off on your own, never bother you again. Because he has Regina King's character and a bunch of other people, that changes, but he seems like the kind of character that as long as you do what he says, he's going to let you live. And these are the scariest types of people, or the scariest types of individuals, because they are so calm and collective. They are so kind of, you can tell the gaze that they're giving you and the menacing look that they're giving you, but there's something kind of dimensional about that kind of look and character. And that's what makes this character so riveting and so interesting, that when he gets to his final conclusion and final portion of this movie, it's actually kind of a surprise, because you think it's going to go one way and it ends up going another. It's just how his character is developed throughout the movie that is really fun and interesting and kind of, just kind of cool overall. But like I said, Jonathan Majors, Zazie Beetz, Idris Elba, Delroy, Lindo, everybody else has amazing moments and amazing things and so on and so forth. But my main issue with this movie, just overall, is just it's very stereotypical. It's very tropey. It has a lot of the same things you expect, out of a movie like this, the same beats and so on and so forth. So I wish there were sometimes people put a little more effort into that, but I don't take it away from this movie still being entertaining. I think the sound work in this movie is very pulse pounding. There were points where my surround system was actually kind of hitting me, like if you were going to a concert with like the pounding of the, like the drums and stuff like that. And the music's awesome, and the cinematography is awesome, and the direction from Jeymes Samuel is awesome, and everything about this movie just completely works. I just wish it was a little bit different. It had a little bit more nuance in its kind of storytelling, which, like I said, is not bad. It's very atypical, but I just wanted a little bit more out of it. So, and on top of that, it's very gory and graphic. There's a lot of language. It's very in your Deadwood realm, or Westworld type of situation, where it doesn't really hold anything back. It feels like a very in-your-face type R-rated Western. So just to let you know, this part of the review is spoilerish and stuff like that. It talks about the ending of the movie. If you have not seen the movie, you've just watched the review, skip past this, come back and eventually watch it and so on and so forth. But I didn't expect to do an ending explained for this movie at all. It's a Western. It's a very tropey Western. I expected to go where it was supposed to go. But what this movie did, and I don't know if it did it for the right reasons or it did it to be kind of shocking, is how this movie plays out between Nate Love's character at the very end and Rufus Buck's character, with a revelation I actually didn't really see coming, but I don't know how I feel about it, to be fairly honest. And so they have the big shootout at the very end of this movie. Very atypical. You've seen it like open range and stuff like that. Very bloody, kind of awesome, all that good stuff. But it leads to pretty much everyone who you expect dying dies, all the goods and bad and so on and so forth. And it leads Nate Love's character approaching Buck, or Rufus Buck's character, who is of course inside the house of the mayor or the sheriff or whatever. And he basically, Nate Love points his gun, says, "Get your gun, I'm going to shoot you, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have a final confrontation." And Buck starts going on this kind of revelation moment where he starts talking about his father and his mother and about how he's beaten very harshly. This is something that even Regina King's character talks about with her character, about being beaten and so on and so forth. And he starts going on about how his father was an alcoholic and his father did some really menacing stuff. Well, his father, of course, left him, and this character of Buck went on a quest to take down his father for everything that he did to his mother and so on and so forth. Well, what's really interesting is because the opening of this movie takes place in the past, we see Rufus Buck's character kill Love's father and mother. And what really becomes really kind of interesting, and I don't know how I truly feel, is Buck starts making the revelation to Nate Love, who starts to see what's going on, that the father of Nate Love is, in fact, Rufus Bucks' father. That's an interesting concept because it's not necessarily done a lot in times of westerns. Westerns usually end as soon as the big battle sequence takes place at the very end, the shootout with the main antagonist or protagonist, actually the main protagonist killing the antagonist. But what makes it interesting is I think Nate Love kind of knows what's happening and knows that they have a connection with one another. But Rufus Buck's character starts kind of breaking down, and he knows that Nate Love needs to kill him to make him push himself farther. But the fact that he's giving all this information almost feels kind of out of place in this movie, because you feel like now you have sympathy for Rufus Buck and why he did what he did to Nate Love's parents. And the simple fact that Nate Love's father is the father of Rufus Buck, and they're actually brother or stepbrothers in a lot of ways. And I felt it was almost a little undeserved in a lot of aspects. I felt like it was a little too much for this movie, a little too forward in the movie. It would have been really interesting that you see kind of Rufus Bucks' character get killed by Nate Love, but instead they add in this kind of new kind of dimension to the character where Rufus Buck is almost sympathetic in a lot of ways, but neither of these two characters are really sympathetic in the nature of they've done a lot of bad things in their life. And so when Nate Love kills Rufus Buck's character, you almost feel like it's like the Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker kind of scenario where Luke sees his father, he feels bad for his father has redeemed himself, and it doesn't feel like that's kind of what's going on here. It's a really strange moment. I was like really kind of taken out by it, but it also gives the movie a really interesting dimension, a really interesting kind of new strength that actually makes the movie a little bit better. So it's a very conflicting thing where I almost want to know in the comments, how do you feel about this ending? Did it kind of hit you the wrong way? Did it hit you the right way? Do you feel it was deserved? Because I'm a little conflicted on whether I truly liked it or didn't like it. I think it was like a bold move and a bold statement, but I also felt like it was a little too much for this movie, and it took it in too much of a direction that I wasn't expecting, or maybe not necessarily liked. So I don't know. I'm really conflicted. Like I said, kind of finishes the arc of the story, and you kind of get your conclusion, but I'll leave it at that. I'll leave you guys in the comments below to kind of talk about it. Let me know what you think, all that good stuff. But otherwise, I still did like this movie. I still think it has some really fun moments. It has a great cast, great, dimensional action, stuff like that. And I still think it's a movie that's worth watching. So there you go. Anyways, that'll do it for my review / ending explains of The Harder They Fall. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said in the comments below, let me know what you think of the ending, what you think of the movie, all that good stuff. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like any of these videos, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.